Alright guys, kind of was asked to do like a walk around video, so I'll just walk around here and kind of just point out a few things. If there's something I missed you want me to explain or something, just write down in the comments or something like that. But so I guess we'll start off with the front end. I do not have the steerable nose wheel, obviously is not on here. I have one, but I'm going to put that on my other plane. But anyways, so yeah, the thing I did modify was this here mud flap, which I like a lot. It doesn't really bother, the wind doesn't really bother it too much when you're flying. And I just attached it on there with some lock nuts, well, lock washers. These lock nuts and lock washer, or the nut and lock washer, will need to be replaced with an actual nylock. Is the smartest thing. Don't be an idiot like me, so don't do that. And but then there's 4 pounds of weight up front here, 4 pounds on each side, so 8 pounds total. If I remember right, I could be wrong now. It's been a little while since I messed with those, but I don't know. I started out with a little more weight than that. I think 12 pounds or something like that, and it just worked. It just gave me, I don't know, when I landed, I was able to land smooth on all wheels with the 8 pounds. So it just felt a little heavy when I had 12. So I backed it down, and it felt pretty good there. I haven't moved it since. I should probably take a couple out and see what it's like with a little less, but haven't done that. So the next thing, so there's the wheel, to get a good shot of that. I don't know how well this is going to look. I'm trying to just do this with my phone, so I'm sorry if it looks like crap. So the next thing I did, and I don't know if this is, hopefully you don't have to mess with this stuff, but so yeah, how is this? I actually could adjust that a little more, but for me, when I'm sitting in my seat, to me, the stick is like centered when it's like that. So I put shims down here, or actually just put a longer, it's not really, there we go, focusing a little bit. I put a longer bolt in there, and then I used washers to kind of place it where I wanted it, more or less. So that's what I did there to kind of get my rudder where I want it when I got my stick where I want it, I guess, if that makes any sense. So that's all I did there, nothing fancy. What else do we got? Oh yeah, the old famous root tube cap. Printed these. There's a few guys that have those on there, and there's actually one I just made for Israel. It's got a GoPro mount on it. It's pretty cool. I'll put a post on Facebook on that one. It turned out really cool. So then here I got my radio. I just made a mount there for it, so just somewhere to have it. It seems to bounce around a lot. They're actually, Sporty's is really cool about their warranty. I called them and just asked them if they'd had any other problems with it. What's going on is my battery is just kind of a little loose in the back, so when it sits on here, it rattles, turns the radio on and off. They said they've never had that complaint before, so they're going to send me a new battery pack, and we're going to try that. But I have been just putting it on my belt, clipping it on my belt, and it helps a lot, but it's loose enough to where even that will turn it on and off sometimes. So yeah, hopefully that's getting addressed. But I do like having it here just to be able to throw it there when I hop up, and whatever. So then GoPro mounts, we got one here. This one, I'm going to take this one off and put it somewhere else. I haven't fully decided where we're going with that guy yet. One thing about this here on your gas tank, most people will have a petcock here, so you can drain this, and you should. This needs one. Otherwise, there's no way to drain that water out of your. That's what this loop is for, is to collect water there. So there's no way to drain the water out of there. So this needs to be fixed. It's on the list. But yeah, so I need to put a valve there, and so then I can drain it out. And this is not permanent. I just wanted to get flying this morning, so don't hate on me too bad. Okay, so what else did I do? Okay, so the mud flaps in the back, I kind of point them out again. they're not nylock nuts on there, and there's actually some wire. So probably not going to find anything like this in the manual. I guarantee you won't. I don't recommend doing it. But this is what worked for me, so I'm just showing you what worked for me. I am not showing you what to do. I'm not telling you to do this, not at all. Don't do as I do, I guess. I will give you that bit of advice. But so anyways, what I did is I just used some P-clamps here, and these will be nylocks eventually when I get to that. But this here was just to tighten things up. I might try and make some kind of like a bracket or a bar that goes from there to there, and I can just bolt that together to keep it so it stiffens it up a little bit. But I just riveted those on, and you can see the dirt there. It really does help. So especially landing on like a gravel is where my biggest concern was. I didn't want the rocks getting flung up on the prop, the wood prop. So and then also landing in the bean field. There was one time where it was a little bit muddy out there, and I don't know, I might have got a little chunk of shit flung up and hit the propeller just a little bit. So yeah, that's why we put mud flaps on there, so we don't do that anymore. And then also helps with like the rain. Obviously, if you're going to be driving down the runway and there's little pockets of water, you don't want that water splashing up on your propeller if you have just a wood propeller, or if you don't have some kind of protector on your leading edge. But I don't, so yeah, I avoid water at all costs if I can. So the mud flaps help with that. It's awesome. And so my gauge pod, nothing fancy. I think it's fancy because I made it and printed it with my 3D printer. Pretty cool. Right there, Wheats 3D. Give me a call if you want something printed. Anyways, so I don't know exactly where the interference is coming from, but you can see my tiny tack, or knockoff tiny tack, is mounted over there, because when I wanted to mount it here, it would never read right. I don't know if it's getting some interference from the EGT or the CHT or what, but it is not functioning correctly when I put it over here. So without having to dig into it too much, I just flipped it over there. I will at some point, and I even had I rewired this since, but I've had these wires twisted to try to kind of mitigate the noise. So anyways, yeah, there's my gauge pod. I like it because I made it. I think it's cool. Anyways, this is where I have my phone. I got a new phone, and the dang thing doesn't fit in the old holder, so I have to get a new holder for this one. But I actually don't really want to put this one on there because I'm afraid it'll vibrate and maybe potentially wreck the camera. So I'm gonna try and find a different phone that I can just use. But so we'll go back here to the parachute now, and the ballistic oh shit chute, I guess. I don't know what you'll call a recovery chute or whatever. So if the wing collapses or something like that, and then luckily or hopefully I would have time to pull this and then pull this out. I've kind of gotten criticized in the past. Only one person really, and it was that lady that's not in our group anymore, but said that I should have this safety pin out while I'm flying, but that makes me very nervous if something would happen, if it would get caught. I don't know how the heck it would get caught, but if for whatever reason it would, this trigger would bounce out and engage this while I was flying, it would be a very, very bad day. So I leave it in there. It's probably not the right thing to do. You probably should pull it out, but it makes me feel better. So that's what I do. Don't do as I do. I'm just telling you this is what I do. Anyways, let's go to what else did we do? I did have to weld on when I had my exhaust muffler, or my muffler, initially, I had to patch a big patch in it. I had to weld these brackets on, and then made this stuff here. That's why it looks so homemade. Put some washers there, 3D printed washers, of course, and then for the whole, since last year up till just recently when I swapped motors, I hadn't painted this, so it was just the rusty whatever. And just from the little bit of time sitting in the hangar here, anytime I would come and touch it, it would have that gritty, you know, rusty stuff on it, and you could just tell that it was slowly disintegrating. So picked up this ceramic spray paint stuff and sanded her down real good, prepped it up halfway decent, and it really looks good. It's so far so good. Yeah, I'm excited about that. It looks really good compared to what it had looked like. So yeah, there's the newer motor. I'm going to move some of these wires. I don't think this is a great idea to have wires and stuff strapped to the coils. They get warm, but I highly doubt they're going to get super hot. But to give them the most potential to cool, I will keep all that stuff away from them. So I'll zip tie that in a different manner. Some of this stuff just looks terrible, but yeah. And then here's the flasher. This needs to get mounted. I'm gonna make a bracket for that yet, but a couple zip ties on there, and she won't go anywhere for a little bit. But that's on the list. There's stuff on the list. There's always stuff on the list, and if there's not, then you're not looking at your airplane good enough. But what else can we show? Let's see here. Okay, so we put a little unnecessary, I guess this may be somewhat unnecessary, but a trim tab on here so that I have a better chance of flying straight. Today I just kind of tested that. I think I can adjust it a little bit yet. And then I put this on here. I really don't use it very much, not as much as I thought I was going to. It's for the elevator trim tab. It's an adjustable one. I wanted, with the idea that maybe for kind of some longer flights where I could just kind of cruise, have the throttle set and just cruise. But I really don't do a lot of that. I just kind of fly around. I typically don't let it sit with 1 RPM for very long. I just don't think that's super great on the engine, but I don't know a lot. Who knows? Here's the deal there. I see this. So this, I've been told this is pretty unnecessary, and it maybe is, but it makes me feel better. That's important to me, that I feel safe, I guess, or I don't know if I feel safe, but I feel better. This one bolt fails, which they assure me it won't. But if that guy fails, my wings go up, fold up, and I am coming down like a big frickin' rock. So this is the hope that this will keep them from coming up. Let me get a better view, come around here. I mean, it's pretty obvious what the point of it is, or the logic behind it, but yeah, I just drilled a hole there through that gusset, and that's what it is. So I did that to both sides, and on the gentleman that took me up for that half hour when I was first starting out, he had that done on his plane, and I thought, boy, that is one great idea. I really liked it, so we put it on my plane, and yeah. So I don't really know what else there is. What am I missing here? I don't really know. Wing fences. I do want to put wing fences on here. There's a gentleman on Facebook, Israel Both Sword. He crafted his own, and they look really good. So I'd like to do something like that. Real simple. He just took a rib and kind of straightened it out, and yeah, it looked really good what he come up with. So check that out if you guys want. It's on that the Facebook group. I think I called it MX Owners, Admirers, and Flyers, or something like that. I probably got the order mixed up, but get on Facebook there, go find it, join up. It's kind of a try to keep the scammers out, so there's a few questions. Make sure you hit all the questions, otherwise I'll throw you into the scammer bin. Try to keep it clean in there. They sneak through every now and then with their stupid t-shirt offers, but we kick them out real quick. So I don't think there's much else that I didn't cover. There's a lot of this little stuff that I try and do, these little spacers. Obviously this is an aluminum part normally, but something like that, if I can make it, I try to make it. Sometimes, not everything. Depends on how much, how important it is as far as like integrity of the craft. But like these saddles, and then I'm not going to be able to show you, but so there isn't one in there. There should be. Yeah, there's one in here. I bet it got pushed back in there. But so right here in this tube, in this blue tube here, there's a plug. So I put this plug into this blue tube, and then there's a hole through it so you can slide your bolt through the plug. But what that does is it keeps this tube end from being squished and egged out, which when I first got my airplane, that's why all this tubing is blue, is because I ended up replacing almost all of the tubing on this thing because it was so egged out, and even the holes were wallered out too. So but this will prevent you from over tightening that and egging it out. So I tried to do that on as many different spots. There should be one, at just about every spot I could. There was a couple different sizes is all I needed for plugs. So that was another thing, a cool thing I was able to do with the 3D printer. So I like things like that. So fuel pump, I had printed a nice bracket on the other for the other motor mounts and stuff. It has 2 holes underneath the heater, and then I just printed a bracket to hold my fuel pump on. These ones didn't have any holes in them, and I really don't want to drill into these beautiful brackets, so I'm coming up with a different idea. I don't know if I'm going to come off of here with like an angled piece, but I definitely want my fuel pump laying flat right here. So yeah, I'm thinking about a bracket coming up here and then just over like an L bracket. I don't know. We'll see. I'll come up with that in the next few days. But you got the single carb on here. Gotta thank Israel Bose Ford, helped me out with the intake. I would have had to steal that off my other motor. So really appreciate you helping me out with that. Yeah, what else do we got? I don't know. I think we covered mostly everything here. So I got the four belt down here. Initially when I first got this thing, it kind of started, probably even had the other motor on it, Cuyuna, but I put the wrong belts on it. I just went down to O'Reilly's or wherever and got some belts that were just, crossed over or something like that, I suppose is what they did, and it ate a little bit of the aluminum, or a little bit of the anodizing on this upper one. My bottom one's still good, but so I always pay attention to that, watch real carefully, make sure it doesn't go anymore, listen for the belt, make sure the belt's not slipping. I have had it where you run it for a little while and the belt loosened up or something, and so I could hear it squeak a little bit, and so then I was able to tighten it up and get rid of that. But you want to make sure that does not slip, because it'll eat away that anodizing, and once it does, they're toast, and then you're spending $500 on pulleys. So just be real careful you're not slipping the belt. With this bad boy right here, she's got plenty of power. So it's possible to slip that belt, especially with only 4 of them on there. I did get a solid 4, so they're all like one solid belt here. I just haven't replaced that. I don't know if I will, or maybe I'll put it on the other plane, or I don't know. I suppose I'll replace them. I just don't know when. But I think if there's anything else. So this cable, I had a question about this when I first hooked this thing up. So this thing comes with a big tether deal here coming out of the canister, and you'll want that connected. So I just tied a cable here, you know, to connect that further. So then I brought it up there and tied it right behind the king post. Well, let me actually verify that. Basically tied it right behind the king post and then right in front of this here. I want it to pick it up in the center of basically the center of the plane, or the center of weight, or whatever is where that should be hanging from. So this will blow out of here and hopefully not interfere with any of this crap. Hopefully the prop is off at that point, and it'll rip these zip ties off. Boom, boom, boom. And these white zip ties are just terrible anyway, so I shouldn't have no problem. Rip them off, and hopefully you float down safely. But hopefully that never actually happens. Hopefully none of those things happen, and you always just float down without ever having to pull that cord. But it's there just in case. I have thought about taking it off. I'm a whole lot more confident with this thing than when I first started. I was shaking in my boots more or less when I first started, so I've come a long ways. I feel so much more confident with this thing. It's just, yeah, it's just so much fun. If you guys ever get the chance, stick your butt in that chair and crank that throttle up and go give it a whirl, because it is worth every bit of it. I don't think there's much. I don't think there's anything else to cover. We got, oh my gosh, 22 minutes here, so I don't know if I can edit this down or if we'll just leave the whole thing up. It's a long video. I did not mean for it to be this long. So, oh, and one more thing. I've already kind of talked about it before. Maybe somewhat in, I don't know. Anyways, you got that giant king post up there. If you know, this is an old MX. The wire, you know, fully wire brace, no struts or nothing. So you got your king post that's way up there, and I think it's like 9 foot something. So what I had to do to get it out of here, stick over here, was to dig these holes and ruts so that I could clear that door. And then you can see up there, it's like it's right there. Yeah, I should probably take another, you know, ½ inch out. But it touches the door every time with the very top of the king post. Most times, not every time, but. So, yeah, if they were ever to build new hangars like they talk about, which I don't think will happen, but then, I don't know, I might be in a pickle there. I don't know how I would get it out, or hopefully they'd make the doors big enough for me, but like I said, I doubt they're building new hangars anytime soon. So, I think we should probably wrap that up. Anybody got any questions, or you know, I didn't cover something you wanted me to talk about, just write down in the comments and I can hopefully get that for you. So thanks for watching again, guys. Fly safe, fly often. Till next time.